I've hypergonadism and have been treated in a mental hospital for 3 years. I just got discharged. On the train I encountered a brat who was making a scene. When I asked him to be quiet, he not only spat at me, but also threw my medication away. That wasn't just my calming medicine he threw. It was clearly the regret pills for his entire family. I have severe antisocial personality disorder and was just lucky to be discharged last week. I need to go back for a follow-up. In an attempt to prepare, I studied all night for the correct responses. For example, if you accidentally bump into someone, you should say sorry, not kill them. The correct way to handle a conflict is to call the police, not bring a knife to chop down their entire family. Killing is illegal. Killing is illegal. Killing is illegal. It's important to repeat 3 times. These stiff and complicated points already made me feel frustrated. But on the train, I ran into another brat. I don't know which lowlife gave birth to this little monster, but he was shouting and jumping around the carriage. With a toy gun in hand, he ran from east to west, pointing it at anyone he saw, demanding snack. Whether he knew them or not, he didn't get what he wanted. He spat at them. The train staff tried to intervene, but the little brat's parents seemed oblivious. They didn't even glance over, lazily kicking off their shoes and lounging in their seats, scrolling through Douyin with the sound blaring, filling the carriage with their obnoxious laughter, enduring the smell of their feet. Approached the parent to remind them to keep an eye on their child. The parent rolled their eyes and shouted, "We bought tickets. We're customers are kings. You're here to serve us. Understand?" The other passengers were trying to rest. The staff said, "Your behavior is also disturbing," but was interrupted by the parent yelling, "Why shouldn't kids play in public? Who do you think you are?" Just as the staff was about to say something, the kid suddenly grabbed the staff's short skirt and yanked it up. Although he didn't manage to lift it, everyone heard the fabric tear. "It's black, it's black." The kid laughed, pointing at the staff and exaggerated, exclaiming, "She's wearing black underneath." The staff was a young girl, and she turned red and burst into tears, covering her skirt as she hurried away. Some passenger, unable to watch any longer, started to criticize. "This kid is out of line. You have to consider the impact in public places. Do you have any manners? What kind of parents raise such kids?" The parents coughed. "Only you have manners." The kid, holding the gun, yelled, "Shut, or I'll kill all of you." Then, he spat at the nearest person and laughed hysterically. The little monster stood with his hands on his hip, proudly surveying the carriage. Suddenly, he spotted me, ran over, and stared at my tablet, bending his hand. "Give it to me." I was taken aback. "What?" "The tablet. I want to play a game," I said. "Go away." He pointed his toy gun at me and commanded, "Give it to me, or I'll shoot you." The low-life parent chimed in. "What's your problem? Just let him play a little." "What's that?" I felt my blood boil, rushing to my head, and my ears started buzzing. In my mind, the little figures were arguing. One said, "Kill him, kill him." The other said, "Listen to him, listen." Just as my rage was about to overwhelm my reason, a voice exploded in my ear. "Killing is illegal. Killing is illegal. Killing is illegal." Important things should be repeated 3 times. I realized I was about to lose control. I fished out my medication from my pocket, ready to take a couple of pills to calm myself down. However, that little monster was quick and snatched my bottle away. "Give it back," I said. "Don't do something you'll regret." The brat laughed. "You're crazy. Are you dying or something?" He unscrewed the cap and dumped all the pills on the floor. Said, "Then just go die?" His mom gave him a thumbs up. "Good, son." The next second, she saw her precious child get a flying kick from me and go flying backward. Before she could react, I grabbed the little monster and slammed him down onto the ground like a volleyball. There was a loud thud. The kid cried out in pain, yelling for help. The carriage fell silent for a moment. Then his mother's blood-curdling scream pierced the air. "Help! Murder!" The onlookers quickly reacted, advising me not to stoop to the kid's level while strategically keeping the mother at bay to give me some space. I crouched down, tugging at the kid's hair, and asked cheerfully, "What game did you want to play earlier?" He was so scared, he kept turning to look at his mom. Sniffling, I slapped him across the face. "I'm asking you a question." He stammered. "Plants vs. Zombies," I replied. "All right, I'll play with you. You're the zombie, and I'm the plant." Then I grabbed a handful of sunflower seeds and flicked them at his forehead. He shooter. UBSO. After a while, I felt the damage was too little. I turned and saw a cup of iced coffee on the nearby table. I took a sip and sprayed it all over his face, saying, "Now you're the ice shooter." The little monster was drenched in coffee, with wet hair sticking to his face, too scared to make a sound. "Is it fun?" I asked. He shook his head wildly. "How dare you say it's not fun?" I grabbed his toy gun and hit his head, saying, "I'm playing hard for you. I'm spending half the day with you. And you say it's not fun." He yelled in pain, holding his head and frantically nodding. "It's fun. And if it's so fun, then play with me a little longer." The little monster cried. "I don't want to play any. I'm done. I'll never play again." The kid's mother finally squeezed in, gnawing at my leg a dog. I stomped on the back of her neck and then grabbed her head, slamming it into the ground. Novels often describe people like us as capricious and prone to sudden bursts of anger. I ought know if other perverts are like this, but am not. Most of the time, I'm extremely calm, much calmer than the average person. Killing someone feels as emotional as squashing an ant. For example, if I had a knife in my hand right now, I would have no hesitation in chopping off that dog's head. Unfortunately, I not only don't have a knife, but I was also stopped by the writing staff. "Call the police," the little bastard's mother shouted, clutching my clothes. "I'm going to send him to jail." I pinched her fingers, bending them back one by one. "Touch me again, and I'll cripple you." She cried out in pain and finally managed to break free, but she didn't dare to act up again, hiding behind the staff and glaring at me with hatred. We were taken to a lounge at the station. The mother was shouting for me to pay €200 in medical fees for her precious son. But the staff spoke up for me, saying her son had stolen my medication first. The mother, clearly forgetting her injury, immediately objected. "Hands on her hips, what can a lousy pill be worth? Why should my son be bullied like this?" I smiled and replied, "I have a mental illness. That medication is for calming me down." She clearly didn't believe me. "You have a mental illness? I have a mental illness too. Regardless, if you don't pay the full 200, don't even think about leaving this place." So right in front of her, I walked out the door. "Mal, what are you going to do about it?" Then I stepped back and hey, imba. Then out again, out again, out again. After repeating this a few times, coming and going. "Are you mad? There's nothing you can do to me." The kid was crying loudly, like a boiling kettle. The mother's face was trembling with rage, fist clenched, as she repeatedly said, "Okay. If I don't break your bones today, you won't know what kind of person you've offended." She made a phone call, glaring at me fiercely, gritting her teeth. "I'm going to skin you alive." I nodded and said, "If you want to fight me, let's set a time. I'm going to see a doctor today and we'll come back to find you. You won't call the police." I said this very sincerely. I really wanted to spar with her. I used to read stories about serial killers abroad, and they love to dissect their victims. I've never killed anyone in my life, and now that I have this chance, I can't let it slip by, even if it's just to pay tribute to my predecessors. The mother nodded, both angry and amused. "All right. All right. Even now, you still have a sharp tongue." I learned about their famous means of revenge. I got off in the suburbs, and there was a small path from the station to the bus stop. Just as I turned into the alley, 4 or 5 men blocked my way. Each had tattoos on their arm, wielding batons and daggers. "Are you the one who bullied my son?" the leader asked, slapping me hard. I was caught off guard and fell to the ground. The others quickly restrained me. "You little bastard. You dare to hit my son?" He crouched down, grabbing my hair, and, "There are no cameras here. If I ruin you, no one will know. You'll know what happens when you offend someone." I quickly picked up the information I wanted. No cameras? No one would be caught for murder? This is too good to be true. Suddenly, buzz, and two little figures jumped out in my mind, banging drums and shouting, "Let's go, let's go." Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kind of emotional videos." I headbutted that and took advantage of his moment of pain to twist his arm. Then kicked the guy behind me right in the groin. The man fell over, and I seized the opportunity to stand up, slamming his arm down hard on the ground, snatching the dagger from his hand. The heavy blade felt exhilarating in my grip, and my blood surged, every cell singing with excitement. One characteristic of my hypergonadism is that my testosterone levels are much higher than those of normal men, and my muscles are excessively developed. Now I finally had a chance to put that to use. His father reacted first, swinging a baton at my head. I didn't dodge or evade. I swung the knife down at his skull. It was a fight where I was risking everything. Like two blindfolded drivers colliding head, one whoever flinched first would be the loser. This scene played out like a slow-motion movie in front of me, the weapon growing larger as it came closer. His father's expression shifting from grimace to terror, because my dagger was also slicing through the air towards his forehead. Just as the blade was less than an inch from his head, I couldn't help but tremble. Not from fear, but from excitement. An indescribable bloodlust surged through me, every pore rejoicing. But he was scared. Just as I was about to strike, he forced himself to veer away. He hit me, but I didn't get to slash him. The blade sparked as it struck the ground, sending a jolt through my hand. Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos. Are you trying to kill someone?" His father's voice trembled. I was really about to explode. Can a cooked duck still fly away? I gripped the dagger in reverse and swung it back at him. "If I can't kill you with one swing, you'll try again." His father, terrified, seemed unable to walk, scrambling away. The others also ran away or rolled out of the way. I wouldn't let them off so easily. I chased after them with the knife. Just half a minute ago, they were saying feed teach me a lesson. Half a minute later, 5 of them were being chased and hacked at by me alone. The survival instinct of a person is truly immense. I've been the long-distance champion in the mental hospital for 3 years, yet I still couldn't outrun them. Bystanders saw this scene and called the police. We all ended up at the police station. After understanding the whole situation, the police officer rubbed his temple, looking quite exasperated. Is it really necessary to resort to violence over such a trivial matter? And even used an "I fear you" part of a gang? That really startled me. I echoed from the side. Exactly. Exactly. I saw the corner of the officer's mouth twitch for a moment. Are you playing the innocent lamb? With your attitude, if we had arrived even a minute later, would any of the 5 of them have survived? The kid's father seemed to still be haunted by fear, choking out, "Officer, thanks to your timely arrival." Or else his tearful expression was quite unbecoming of the dragon tattoo on his arm. All right, let's all take a step back. Just write a letter of guarantee and then go home. The officer took out a pen and paper, slapping it on the table. "You go first," I said. "I can try that. I can't guarantee that I won't kill him." I was speaking on, and I guessed my eyes must have looked completely clear. The officer was momentarily stunned. "Don't joke around. Murder is illegal. Do you know that?" I replied. "I know. I can't let it go." The police officer's expression gradually became serious. "What's your name? What's your ID number?" I told him, and he quickly pulled up my file. As he read, his brow furrowed tightly. "Please come over immediately. We need to conduct a psychological assessment." The officer was probably calling my attending physician. How could someone like him possibly be relieved? Half an hour later, Carl arrived. After understanding the situation, he helplessly glanced at the kid's father. "Why did you provoke this living demon?" He counted off my previous incidents on his fingers because someone bumped into him. He chased 3 people with a machete, making one of them foam at the mouth. And he was bedridden for a month. He occupies the only single room in the whole hospital. No one dares to share a dorm with him. There was a bipolar man who was his roommate. But after a week, he became socially anxious. The big bad wolf turned into a little bunny. The doctor sighed. He was admitted because he got into an argument, unable to control himself. Almost gouged Simone's eye out with a spoon. The kid's father looked increasingly anxious. His tongue seeming to tie itself in knots. He gouged Simone's eye out. And he's not going to jail, because he was only 8 years old at the time. The police officer looked at me deeply. Let's conduct a psychological assessment. I suspect he's not fit for discharge. The doctor smirked, slowly pulling out a tablet to pull up the test questions. He's memorized the entire question bank. His results show he's even more normal than normal people. He muttered this softly. Only I could hear. The kid's father was scrolling through news about mentally ill people getting acquitted for murder. As he watched, his legs grew weak, and he collapsed into a chair, trembling all over. There were 100 questions, and I finished them in under 3 minutes. If it weren't for the internet lagging, I could have finished in under a minute. The results showed that I was a kind, gentle person, emotionally stable, and disliked using violence. How can he be a good person? The kid's father exclaimed, his eyes nearly popping out. Just now? He didn't know. On the day I was discharged, the director personally came to see me off, even hiring a celebratory band, hanging banners, and banging drums. All the doctors and nurses stood neatly at the entrance, waving goodbye to me. They offered me money and job introduction, but there was one requirement: whatever you do, don't come back. Yeah, normal people? The doctor lied through his teeth. Look at this face. Not a single feature missing. Exactly 2 eyes. Said normal? He quickly packed his bag. My gassed tank is about to explode. He'll head out first. After he left, he said he'd keep in touch. It's best not to contact the police. After pondering for a moment, he said to me, now that you're discharged, just live a normal life. Don't cause any more trouble. Then he said to the kid's father, if anything happened, just call the police, and we will rush over immediately. I hope you can make it in time. The guy's mouth twitched, looking as if he was about to cry. Brother, I'm sorry. I acted on impulse and offended you. Let me go this time. I graciously patted him on the shoulder. Calling me brother makes it feel distant. Call me dad. He didn't say anything. I squeezed his shoulder, smiling slightly. So, are you going to call? Good boy. Then we both leaned over the table to write the letter of guarantee. I never understood the use of such thing. Just because you guarantee not to do something means you won't. Society of normal people talks about morality and credibility. I'm different. I have no moral. I just wrote one line: I guarantee that I won't kill him today. He wrote several pages, starting from how his precious son made mistake, then to his offense against me, and then to how he had elders above and kids below, desperately playing the pity card to ask for leniency. He wrote tens of thousands of words, and I couldn't help but click my tongue in amazement. I know an author named Lee Yun-Hao who writes quick-paced stories. If he could have half this guy's level, he would let be chased and cursed by readers. After finishing the letter, we both exited the police station. He ran off as if he had stepped on the fire wheel, moving incredibly fast. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared. If Usain Bolt saw him, he'd probably consider him a rival. But what good is that? It's useless. When I was writing my reflection, I saw his ID on the table. Had his detailed home address on it. No rush. I have all the patience to play with him slowly. I went to a pharmacy to buy sleeping pills, but the pharmacist refused to sell them, asking for a hospital certificate. I then went to a supermarket to buy a machete, but because I had bloodstains on my clothes, the sales assistant directly called security. What kind of world is this? Killing someone is so troublesome. There any justice left? I called the doctor to help me get a few bottles of sleeping pill. He was on high alert. What do you want that for? I replied, I want to take down their whole family, then dismember them, stuff them into suitcases, and dump them by the river. He was shocked. How could you do something like that? I said, don't you have a better idea? Let's hear it. Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, you never used to watch these kind of emotional videos. I'm telling you not to kill anyone. Who wants to discuss murder methods with you? You idiot. I asked, why can't I kill? He fell silent for a long time, his voice sounding weary. Do you even hear what you're saying? Murder is illegal. And why else? If you kill him, are you done for too? If I don't get caught, then it's fine, right? How can you be so thick-headed? Oh my God. There are cameras everywhere. How do you expect to escape? So I need to pay attention to the camera. Right? Thanks for the reminder. I'm tired. Destroyed already, my elementary school teacher once told me. Where there's a will, there's a way. Nothing is impossible for the willing. You shouldn't make it sound so inspirational for something like this. I'm convinced over the next few days. After my reconnaissance and practical investigation, I realized that the doctor was indeed right. Not to mention the ubiquitous camera. Just the big data alone was enough to give me a headache. Everything I bought was recorded. Various apps were linked to my ID. As soon as I dared to commit a crime, it'd be found within a minute. In this day and age, it's really hard to kill someone. I wasted all that time studying anatomy books for nothing. Now, I can understand the feelings of ancient people whose talents went unrecognized. But I'm the kind of person who repays grudges. If I can't kill you, then I'll torment you. I rented a house near their home. Every day, I did nothing but follow them around. It didn't take long to figure out their daily routine. I found that their family was truly a sight to behold. They littered without care. Even though there was a trash can just a couple of steps away, they insisted on throwing their trash on the ground. The old man sweeping the community asked them why they wouldn't take those extra steps. They replied that they were homeowners, had paid the property fees, and deserved to enjoy this service. Otherwise, why would they need people to sweep the streets? The kid was also mischievous. After school, he would run wild around the neighborhood. In the dead of night, he would ring people's doorbells and then run away laughing. On weekends, he liked to hide in the elevator, canceling the floor buttons that everyone pressed and giggling as he watched them. Every time someone pressed the button, he'd cancel it again. He dared to confront him, had spit at you and run off. I personally saw a delivery guy pleading with him to stop since his order was about to be late. The kid got even more excited, lying in front of the elevator door, refusing to let it move. The delivery guy had no choice but to climb 30 floors to deliver his food. I used to be tough as a kid, but he was far worse than me. That kid's dad, back at the police station, nearly kneeled in front of me. His attitude of wanting to turn over a new leaf seemed sincere. But in the blink of an eye, he flipped back. He liked to find nicer cars in the blind spots of camera, then secretly scratch them with his keys. The nicer the car, the happier he was. He'd mumbled to himself, driving such a nice car. Is the money clean? I'm doing society a favor. The whole family was quite abstract. They lacked manners, and I had no morals, making us two sides of the same coin. I started to stalk them. Well, it wasn't really stalking. After all, I was openly appearing in front of them. For example, in the morning, while the kid's mom was having breakfast and just served herself a bowl of porridge, I spat into it. She turned around and saw me. Her spectacular starting with rage, then shock. She looked around, probably thinking that there were people around, so I wouldn't dare to do anything. Then she immediately became defiant, cursing my entire family. You a bastard. How dare you spit in someone's bowl? That was a good suggestion. So I spat again. This time, it landed on her face. She let out a scream, infuriated, and grabbed her chopstick, wanting to hit me. I suddenly got excited. I had checked, and if she struck first, it could count as mutual combat. If I killed her, I probably wouldn't get the death penalty. I was looking forward to her throwing her chopsticks at me, ready to dodge and retaliate. But she was too timid, putting down the chopsticks and hurriedly running away. Boring. If the adults wouldn't fight, it'd just mess with the kids. Every time, I waited at the school gate for the little brat to get out. I brought a chicken and, right in front of him, Ripiaz ripped it open. I pulled out its guts and wrapped them around the chicken's neck, tying them in a minute bow. It was quite artistic. But the kid was so scared that he lost the ability to walk. collapsing to the ground as if he had no spine. I didn't understand what was so frightening about such a scene. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, I caught a snake at the vegetable market in front of my house and chopped off its head, wearing it around my neck as a toy. I had a lot of fun with it, but the other kids were terrified. They said I looked like a butcher with blood all over my face. I was delighted that they understood my dream was to become a serial killer. But ever since then, they refused to play with me. I could only play with kittens and puppies, and then I killed them all. I couldn't understand the world of normal people and had never really fit in. After all these years, I was quite lonely. I thought that this kid was bad enough. Maybe he was one of my kind. I tried to befriend him. I stuffed some toads and centipedes into his drawer, hoping he'd like them. He should have liked them. Every time he saw them, he cried out of joy. I was also very happy, so this time, I secretly stuffed a few snakes into his backpack. When he opened his backpack and saw a bunch of cute little snakes intertwined and wriggling, flicking their tongues at him, he not only cried out in happiness but even wet himself. He rolled his eyes and fainted from sheer joy. The teacher called emergency hotline, and the doctors didn't dare to approach the snake. They had to call in the firefighters. It was quite the ordeal. During this period, the child woke up and saw the snake was still there, passed out again. Upon waking once more, he saw the snake and passed out again. This happened several times, causing him to lose control of his bowels and bladder, foam at the mouth, and his mental state also became a bit abnormal. After this hospital visit, the child refused to go to school no matter what. His mother stopped working as well, just staying at home to accompany him. With no one else to play with, I could only play with his father. Playing with his father was a different kind of game. I followed him to work and back every day, constantly taking photos and placing them in his workspace, the bathroom, and anywhere he could see them. For instance, when he came back from the bathroom, the boss would show him photos of him playing mobile games while taking a paid shift. Or after a morning meeting, he'd find his photos of browsing inappropriate websites being widely circulated. I even posted evidence of him riding a bike on the front gate of the community. Car owners then blocked his home, demanding compensation. Only 3 days passed before his father was driven crazy, quit his job, and became a recluse at home. They filed a police report. The surveillance cameras caught me constantly following the family of 3, making me a prime suspect. I said, "Come on, it's your round. I can walk wherever I want. Who can stop me?" According to the law, I flatly denied any wrongdoing. With no moral scruple, I lie without batting an eye or a flutter in my heart. They were helpless and couldn't do anything about me. After about a week, they began to relax their vigilance and went back to their normal routines of work and school. How could I let things go as they wished? Their house was on the first floor. I picked a dark and windy night to sneak into their yard. Crouching by the window, I heard activity inside and knew they were busy. I quietly stood up, pressed against the window, and watched them. Then, at the height of their excitement, I took a deep breath and made 3 loud sounds. Hey, 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 hey. My face was pressed against the glass, with my nose and mouth flattened, and under the pale moonlight, I couldn't imagine how amusing the scene was. Indeed, as soon as his father saw me, he fell off the bed. The woman screamed wildly. I laughed and asked, "What are you doing?" The woman fainted after flipping her eye. The man realized it was me and trembled with anger. He was pointing at my finger, which was trembling. "Well, what do you want? Do you believe I'll call the police?" I replied, "Go ahead and report. I'll continue after I get out." Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos." He helplessly lowered his head. "Master, I beg you, spare our family. This month, you've turned our lives upside down. I've lost my job, can't continue my studies. Even if we had a huge grudge, shouldn't it be settled by now?" They said, "I haven't had my fill of fun yet." Unless, his eyes lit up. "Unless what?" I put my arm around his shoulder. "I just got out and don't know anyone here. You're the ones I'm most familiar with. Don't you think you should show some hospitality?" "How should I show it?" he asked. "I don't want your money. That's too formal. I just want to stay at your place for half a month. And look for a job in the meantime. Once I find a job, I'll move out right away. Staying at my place? It's not appropriate. Brother, you don't have to agree. Otherwise, I'll just follow you around like before. I'm sentimental. He stood there in a daze for a long time, probably weighing the pros and cons. After a while, he looked at me deeply and said, "Swear to me that you'll move out after half a month." I raised my hand and laughed. "I swear." The next morning, I moved into their home with a large bag and a small bag. His father came to greet me. "Come if you want, but why bring gift?" I said. "Get lost. None of these are for you." And I opened them in front of him and introduced each item one by one. "This hammer and nails are for smashing skulls. I heard human skulls are very hard. So you need this to crush them. Otherwise it won't fit. This saw is for dismembering. Movies always use electric saws, but I think they're too noisy. Operated ones are better. This is a body bag." His father's face turned pale in an instant, and he stammered. "We agreed to live peacefully for half a month and then you would move out." I said, "I was planning to dismember your whole family, and it took a lot of effort to get these things. I thought I'd introduce you to my toy." "Why did you bring these things?" I sat down at the dining table and took a sip of soy milk. "I'm not interested in killing anymore." His father breathed a sigh of relief, and I continued, "I won't fuel it at your place either. I will definitely give you something in return. You can rest assured." My words hadn't even finished when a scream was heard from the door. The mother and son woke up, and their reaction to seeing me was as if they had seen a ghost. "Yeah." The mother pointed at me, while the child darted behind the sofa, hugging his head and trembling. "Don't hit me. Don't hit me." His father gave a bitter smile, unsure of how to explain the situation. I said, "Come on, let's introduce you. Who are you all? How did you end up in my house?" His father hesitated for a moment and then, rather obediently, "This is my wife. You met her before," I said. Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos." I remember now. I once punched her and she flew off. By the way, I've hit you as well. What a coincidence. Your whole family ended up in my hands. The three of them were both angry and helplessly exasperated. I pointed to an empty seat and said, "Sit down. Why are you standing? Treat this place like your own home. Don't be formal with me." Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos." His mother sat down next to me, trembling, and reached for a steamed bun. I picked up a cleaver and clang, chopped it down on the table. "I told you to sit, not to eat." She jumped in fright and fell back onto the ground. "Yeah." I then pulled her up with a smile and put a steamed bun in her trembling hand. "I was just kidding. Don't take it seriously." Still shaken, looked at me with wide eyes and took a small bite hesitantly. I then kicked her, sending her and the chair flying. I said not to eat, and you dare to eat. Her mother broke down, running back to the room and slamming the door, shouting, "You're crazy." He laughed and turned to the stunned father. "I did all this to vent your anger. What do you mean?" I took out a stack of photos and handed them to him, whispering in his ear, "I took these when I was tracking her. How green you've been." In the photos, his mother was lying in different men's arms, in all sorts of strange poses. As he looked, his father's forehead bulged with veins. "Damn it. Cheating on me behind my back." He kicked the door. "Get out here and explain yourself. When did I cheat? You're all so crazy." Of course, the photos were all photoshopped. While the couple was busy fighting, I turned my attention to the child, giving a kind and gentle smile. "How old are you and how are your grades? He don't come near me." I grabbed him. "Are you not listening when I talk to you nicely? I'm asking you a question." The little kid cried with snot bubbles. "I'm in 3rd grade. Then let me test you." I carried him back to the room and said, "Finish this set of papers. If even one question wrong, they'll beat you." What are the 3 row and column factors of a 3-dimensional matrix? I don't understand. I hit him on the head with a ruler. Write it down. If you cry again, they'll really get you. But I don't understand. The teacher never taught us that. Just because it wasn't taught doesn't mean you can't do it. I pressed his head down on the desk. Can't you learn on your own? It seemed that the misunderstanding had been resolved on the other side. As his dad, with scratches on his face, asked, "What's going on?" I replied, "I'm giving him extra tutoring. Competition is fierce these days. We can't let the child fall behind at the starting line." He picked up the paper and looked at it. Final exam questions for advanced mathematics. It's a bit too early for tutoring. If you don't study, someone else will. You need to be aware of the crisis. I pressed the mischievous kid's head again. Write it down properly. If you get one wrong, I'll hang you up and beat you. Oh my God. A pleasant day began amidst the cries of the three of them. Over the next week, I was grateful and not only paid a hefty rent of $1 but also improved the child's education in all aspects. He didn't know advanced mathematics, but surely he should know something in applied physics, astronomy, or organic molecules. Otherwise, how would he eat in the future? To my surprise, he didn't know any of them. I'm quite reasonable. If cultural subjects aren't good, let's focus on art. I had him doodle with his mom's cosmetics and draw on his dad's car with wire. After several days of training, he could finally draw a somewhat decent circle. His parents were so grateful they insisted on giving me money and finding me a place to stay, almost begging me to leave. But I resolutely refused. A gentleman's word is hard to retract. I will stay the entire half month. Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kind of emotional videos." I conducted comprehensive and intense physical training with them. For example, at 2, I would pour a bucket of cold water on them and force them to run 10 kilometers with a knife in hand. They had to finish in 20 minutes and then do 30 minutes of push-ups. They dared to slack off. I would burn their butts with cigarette butts. To help them save money, I ordered them not to drive or take the bus to work, but to run alongside the bus instead. That way, they could save $2 per trip. Later, I figured that if they chased a taxi, they could save $25. I had them run after the taxi. With such a profound understanding of economics, I doubt anyone else in the world could match me. I feel that my lack of nomination for this year's economics award gives me reasonable grounds to suspect foul play. After just 3 days, they lost 10 pounds, achieving a miraculous weight loss. Aside from trembling, foaming at the mouth, and being delirious, there were no other side effects. How could I to you? Following me is much more effective than buying those weight loss pills. I told the kid's mom. She mumbled for a while, and I finally understood her meaning. Yet they lost weight, but they won't live long. I held on like this until 2 weeks later. That day, it was like New Year's in their home. They were slaughtering pigs and sheep, setting off firecrackers, and sending me off. Thinking about the warm memories from these days, I felt a bit reluctant to leave. People do have feeling. They should too. The whole family was crying. I said, "I'll miss you guys. You must let go." I shot him a glare. He quickly changed his words. "I don't want you to leave either." I said, "Since everyone doesn't want me to leave, I guess I won't." The three of them gasped and kneeled down together. "Please, just go. There's no feast that doesn't end." That's because the money has been settled yet. I pulled out a 20 and counted it for them. Half a month's rent is $1. A month is $2. A year with a discount is $20. Here's my renewal fee. His dad was stunned, stuttering for a while before saying, "What do you mean? Didn't you say a gentleman's word is hard to retract?" I replied, "I'm not a gentleman. Do you have any morals?" "No." "Do you have any credit?" "None." "What about the oaths you took?" "Those are past oaths." You're still playing with puns. Enraged, rushed to the kitchen to grab a knife. "Don't push your luck." Had this moment finally come? I suddenly got excited. I'd been waiting for a long time. I quickly drew out my machete. "Come on. Let's fight. Once we start, even if I kill you, it's unlikely you'll be sentenced to death. Besides, I have a mental illness." His dad hesitated. I said, "Don't be afraid. If you win and you go to jail. Your wife runs off with someone, and your son takes someone else's surname. If I win and you die, in 18 years, you'll be a good man again. No matter how you calculate it. Come on. Hurry up. With a loud clang, his dad's knife fell to the ground. Are you really trying to force me to death?